You're good to go.
All rise, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to all the boards and commissions and residents here tonight. We had an executive session before the beginning of tonight's meeting. We also conducted some interviews for boards and commissions, and I believe we'll be making some appointments in that regard later. The first item on the agenda is a presentation from Chris Sussinguth. Mr. Sussinguth.
Good evening, all. I just want to give you a wrap-up on the block party that you guys granted us permission back in October to celebrate the opening of Wells Road. We were able to we had nice weather that day, as you know, and Rick, you showed up. It was great to see you all there. And I hope everybody saw the picture in the paper on Monday morning and all that. It was really well attended. We didn't really get a final number, but we knew at one point you couldn't even see the road itself. It was just mobbed with people and all that kind of stuff. So I think that we got positive comments from everybody in the neighborhood that came from both sides, or actually all three sides, I guess, and they really had a nice time and all that. So I just want to thank you for that. We were able to go to the local contractors and a lot of the local vendors and businesses in the area, and we're able to raise money for the Park and Rec. And that was one of our goals, is having a block party, so not only to celebrate the Wells Road opening, but to also raise money. So we were able to raise $800 that we're going to distribute out. And Bob, if you want to come up. The Civil Air Patrol was able to do present the colors and the national anthem. We did a pledge of allegiance. So Bob, I want to thank you for your time and your effort from your group. We also had the fire police, since it was Fire Prevention Month. They also provided the food. They raised $100, actually over $100. They kept $100. They donated some food and other supplies for the party, so they took $100, and that was some of the monies that we raised for the party. We're using for donations, and so they already received their funds. But we also had. Step away. We also had the DARE there. They represented the community there. So, Chief, here's their donations. Thank you very much. Was Karen here tonight?
No.
I'll take the joke.
Thank you.
We were also going to have somebody from the Central Bucks Ambulance Corps come, and I don't know if they had a chance to come. I don't recognize any face, but we'll then send their check to them. So just again, thank you for your permission for that, and thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. Conestoga. Hi.
Hi.
Is this a lights off presentation?
Sure.
Sandra.
Be better.
I just hit start later. Sorry, I tried to disable it. There you go.
Okay, thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Rich Burns. I'm from the environmental consulting firm, Conestoga Rovers and Associates, known as CRA. I'm here today to talk about the illicit discharge detection and elimination program. We've given this presentation for several years now. That's CRA there. My name again is Rich Burns, and Russ Mahalik is here. He does all the sampling involved. So you may see his white van with our logo going around the township through all the neighborhoods and through the creeks. This will be a real quick 10-minute presentation. It's really gotten streamlined. As you can see on the slides, we've done this several times before. The previous presentations have a lot more background data, EPA, Clean Water Act, and all that. You can go online and see those. The agenda for tonight, real quick, the current status of our program, the inspections, sampling, and results that we do every year, what you need to know going forward, takeaways from presentation, and any questions you have at the end. The current status, we're in year 8 of this program, so it's a very mature program the township's been doing. It's an EPA-mandated program. We send our reports every year into PAYDEP, though, and you can see from their letter that they sent the township from December. The overall effort was very good, and the township continues to refine and improve its MS4 program. Their NPDS permit was extended to June 2012. And if you haven't seen the presentations before, real quick, illicit discharge and detection and elimination, we go out and do dry weather sampling, which means it hasn't rained for at least 72 hours. And we go to all the outfalls that are in the township. And you can see the pictures there. One's dry to the right, and one shows flow on the left. So that may be indication of illicit discharge since it hasn't rained for 3 days. Here's a township map. We've divided up into 3 areas just for convenience sake. This also matches the septic management program of the township. And you can see the 3 areas there. The results for 2011, since it's such a mature program, we've gone all around to all the areas and done hundreds of samples. In 2011, we focused the inspections on Area 1. The sample analysis that we do is for fecal coliform, and all the outfalls that had dry weather flow were sampled for fecal coliform. 2 locations where we see bubbling and soap suds, we also sample for detergents, which could be a sign of illicit discharge from somebody's home laundry system illegally hooked up to the street or unknowingly hooked up. After the sample analysis, we do a data review, which involves basically comparing our data, seeing where we're getting positive hits. DP kind of has a baseline standard of 200 units for a result. Anything greater than that is usually a sign of possible illicit discharge. Mapping of Area 1. One of the new things that's come out, the EPA and DP are getting a little more stringent with the requirements to map all these outfalls, catch basins, swales, pipes you see along the roadways. And that's what we go around and inspect, photograph, write our observations, take notes, and we sample where we see dry weather flow. Another big thing is to identify all the receiving waters where these outfalls lead to. We're in the Neshaminy watershed, but we got to identify unnamed streams, neighboring townships, anywhere the water goes. And ultimately, we have to prepare a detailed map. They're even going forward to having us GPS all the locations. And of course, we prepare an annual report for submission to the DEP every year. Here's just a zoom in. That's Area 1, the outline in the green. Just trying to show a blow up of one little area. You can see a lot of red dots. Those are a lot of the storm basins and catch basins along the streets. And you can see circled in blue, there's some retention ponds and creeks and all. And tributaries, we have to label all those, and that's an ongoing process. But we did a good bit of it, of Area 1 this year, 2011. Now for the results of Area 1, and you can compare previous presentations to this. We did this every year. In Area 1, we collected 23 samples at 17 outfalls. And the reason it's more samples is because we've generally come back and do a second round based on our observations. We come back and we sample one that either had an exceedance of fecal coliform, as long as it had dry weather flow again. 12 samples from 8 locations showed a fecal coliform greater than the DP's baseline of 200 colonies per 100 milliliters. That's their baseline. And 12 samples because 4 of the locations were sampled a second time. Our maximum fecal coliform result was 1,300. And down below, upstream, that's part of our illicit discharge sampling. What we do is we keep moving up from these designated outfalls to swales, things that aren't quite an outfall by definition, and we try to identify sources. So these are sampling upstream of the outfall locations. There we collected 10 samples at 8 locations. 7 of them had fecal coliform greater than 200, which shows we're kind of getting closer to our source. In this case, the maximum fecal coliform was greater than 6,000, which is pretty much the upper limit of what the lab can give us as a result. But it was only at one location. And there's the big map of Area 1 again. If you can see the orange circles, I think there's 8 of them. That shows the locations of outfalls greater than 200. And overall, levels are still elevated in Area 1, but they're generally lower than in previous years. We're not getting as many samples greater than 6,000, which is a good sign. And part of that is, that everybody upkeeping their septic systems and doing the clean-outs and pump-outs. Going forward, in 2012, we'll complete another round of outfall inspections and sampling, but this time in Area 2. We'll continue to do what we call hotspot sampling, which is to go back to Area 1, which you just saw the map of, anywhere that had historical fecal coliform readings above 200. We'll sample those if they have dry weather flow again. Based on the sampling results, we keep in touch with the township. If we see anything abnormal, really high, greater than 6,000 result in a new area, we'll continue and investigate upstream of that. Other things we've done in the past and we'll continue to do is dye tracing. The township sent out a letter to several residents asking if we could come in and do a dye tracing test, which is to throw dye down a drain in your house and see if it comes out through your septic system and see if it comes out to the catch basins in the street. We've completed some of those in the past, and they're summarized in previous presentations. We have 2 pending that we're going to complete hopefully this year. Residents that have given us permission. In the past, we've also done TV inspections of the lines up the roads through the catch basins to see if there's any connections from residents. And we can also do source mitigation. One instance where we had an exceedance, we notified the county health department, and I believe they've taken care of that directly with the homeowner. The takeaways, again, the township continues to be in compliance. We'll continue to keep doing inspections and sampling. We'll continue to do the more detailed mapping effort. We'll perform sampling where illicit discharges. If a resident calls and sees somebody pouring oil down a drain, or we see trash in a park, creek, or something like that, we'll follow up and do those individually as well. And for everybody to keep doing their septic system maintenance, it appears to be working to some degree in Area 1 for sure. And public participation by everybody, just good housekeeping. And again, the goal is to improve the water quality of the township.
Thank you. Sandra, do you have any follow-up?
I just wanted to point something out on one of your slides.
Map?
Yeah, the map that shows the, okay. So just for the supervisors, this is Area 1 here. That's the Pebble Ridge Sewer Study Area. So just to point out, all those red dots are in that area. I just didn't know if you caught that because we went by it quickly. And Cycle 1 pumped in 2010, and then they did the sampling in 2011, and we saw an improvement. So we are showing a trend that as you pump your septic system, we're seeing less coliform in the neighborhood. So
In that region?
actually,
Or
I think
generally?
all over the township.
All over the township. But
What
this
it-
region is still an issue.
This is the region that we have the largest issue of pollution. So it's the one we monitor the most. I would need another 2 years to do the final analysis because they'll pump I expect that in 2013 they'll have the worst, or in 2012 they'll have the worst results, and then it'll get better again in 2013 when they pump again in 2013. So just showing that it's following the septic management cycle and getting worse and better as people take care of their septic system.
And that is the area of the sewer
you
study.
can see all those dots right there in that sewer study area.
Okay.
There's 2 other dots in other
Yeah, there's 8 on the map, but 6 of them are really in that
So,
southeast.
And the important part is that we go back and we do trace back up the stream to find out where it's coming from, and we have done several of those dye
and
tests.
the dye tests
and
were in this
everything.
area as well. I think
they were
there
in
was,
Cycle 1.
yeah. So homeowners are being very cooperative in allowing us to do that. But I just wanted to make sure you guys got that.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you.
Can I ask a question?
Please,
Sure.
come on.
Is it for me or what?
Take the stand.
Oh, go over to that microphone.
Why, do I-
Oh, we have to share? Yeah. If it's going to be a debate, we have to be,
It's going to be trouble.
He doesn't want to debate you.
And my quick
Yeah.
question is, okay, there sounded like there was one actionable item over 6,000. What kind of action's taken?
I'm going to refer that to them.
See,
I don't know
right
where...
up to the microphone.
Sorry. I don't know where that 6,000 sample was. I don't know what...
That is a catch basin in that southeast corner there. I'm not going to, I guess, give away the name of the street at this point, but that actually was a catch basin that we went upstream from the outfall, and there was water in the catch basin. It was definitely gray. It smelled like detergents. We collected a sample of standing water, and that's one of the areas that we are ongoing with the dye tracing. We've dye traced 3 or 4 residents on that road already, and we have 2 more that have given us consent that we're going to go back and dye trace. So far, we have not seen dye show up, but that is one of the areas that notoriously, since I've been doing this in 2005, and it's not every time that I'm out there, that's the hardest part. If it was there every time, it would be much easier to find.
So you guys are tracking down the source still?
We're trying.
We're going from the outfall where it goes into the stream, and we're going catch basin by catch basin upstream wherever we see flow, collecting samples, and from there then we are limiting it to a certain stretch where then we send the letters out to the homeowners, ask for approval to come in and dye trace their septic systems, and if we see the dye show up there, at that point it gets turned over to the health department to work with the homeowner. We've already found one homeowner where the dye showed up within 20 minutes of putting it in the toilet and flushing it, and the county health department has worked with that homeowner to rectify the situation.
Thank you very much.
I'd like to point out that the best thing that residents can do is if they see, like, when I was a kid, one of our neighbors, you would see, like, the wash water come shooting out onto the street. So if you ever at home in your neighborhood see water shooting from a random pipe from a person's house out into the street, that's called a gray water discharge, and that causes some of this problem. So you can always call the township, and we can follow up on it. But we can't have eyes everywhere, so if everyone could help, it would help us detect these things.
Thanks.
Okay?
Any other questions? Any questions from the board? Thank you very much. Any visitors or public comment? If you're here about Temple Judea, it is on the agenda later with the engineer. So hold your questions if you're here with questions or concerns about the construction of Temple Judea. Any other visitor or public comment? Mr. Bingler.
This is going to be hard. Last week, or last meeting, I brought in pictures showing, the fence up against the trees and the materials against the trees and whatever, and Mario came out to my house on Wednesday, and we had a very nice talk. Until I read Mario's letter, and I don't know how many of you people have read Mario's letter. I believe kind of at the end, Mario threw me under the bus.
Mr. Bingler, it's on the agenda. Can we just hold off until we get to it?
I don't
Please.
think it really has anything this is on the agenda?
Yeah. His
My
letter.
comments are on the agenda?
No, Mario Canales' report is on the agenda, then you can comment.
Oh, I didn't see that on the agenda.
Yes, it's on the
Okay.
agenda.
All right.
Thank you. Any other visitors or public comment? Thank you. The next meeting of this board is Tuesday, February 21st at 7 p.m. And note that Temple Judea road widening will be discussed at that meeting. That's February 21st. The administrative offices will be closed on February 20th for President's Day, and February 15th is your last day to drop off your Christmas tree behind the Township Building. Next item on the agenda is approval of the minutes for the regular meeting of January 16th.
Move for approval.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any questions, comments, or corrections to the minutes? Seeing none, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, it's 5-0. Thank you very much. Correspondence. There's a request from Attorney Jordan Yeager for waiver of copy fees for documents under the right-to-know request form. The correspondence is in the materials. Is Mr. Yeager here? My only question for Mr. Yeager, and I don't want to pass on this, is if he intends to be charging the residents for his work, and if he is, then I don't see the point of wavering, because I don't want to start a precedence in waiving fees unnecessarily. So,
The township's price per copy is very modest, too. It's 10 cents.
Right.
Some charge 25 cents.
it's more important that we don't establish a precedence for this.
with that myself.
So we'll pass on that, and if maybe we can send a request to Mr. Jordan Yeager about his intentions there. Any reports from the solicitor?
I have nothing to report.
Police chief.
Nothing.
All right. Mario Canales, Township Engineer, you're up.
I would like to take this opportunity to, bring the board up to date on the Temple Judea project. At your last meeting, there were some questions brought up by Mr. Bingler, and over the last week, there's been other questions that have been brought up, other issues brought to our attention. First of all, if I didn't intend to throw Mr. Bingler under the bus. I guess we'll discuss that when he comes up. I apologize if there's anything in there that offended him or I misspoke. So we'll handle that at that point. Mr. Bingler had several questions. One was who attended the pre-construction meeting from the township. Township representatives were Sinclair Salisbury, the Director of Code Enforcement, myself. There was an inspector from our office that represents the township also at that meeting. Others there were Lisa Dubin from the Bucks County Conservation District, site contractor, the construction manager for the temple, several temple representatives, plus their engineers and an architect. The location of the tree protection fence was brought up by Mr. Bingler. The tree protection fence was installed according to plan. We had that verified by the temple's engineers. The tree protection fence was located closer than 15 feet from a tree as required by details on the drawing. We did inspect it and approve it in the location that it was installed. We went back, and it was closer to 15 feet, and as you saw from Mr. Bingler's pictures, in certain areas it was up near against the trees. We talked to the site contractor, and we had them move the fence, the entire fence, 15 feet away from the limits of disturbance. So right now the fence has been moved inward towards the site. The materials that were piled up against the fence were not initially stored there. They were away from the fence, but there was a rain event very early on that there was some flooding in that corner of the site. The site contractor needed the area to work, so he moved things closer to the fence. Those materials have been moved away, and most of them have already been installed. There was one tree knocked down within the limits of disturbance, a small tree, 6-inch tree. That was done while they were clearing the brush so that the surveyors can stake out the fencing, the limited disturbance fencing. And the last issue that Mr. Bingler brought up was some additional right-of-way along the Allen property. I spoke to Mr. Allen. We only discussed the storm sewer issue. He had offered his front yard for them to put the storm sewer in instead of having to tear up the road. This offer, I took the offer to the temple. It was late in the game. They would have had to redesign the storm sewer, and some additional poles would have had to been removed, and they felt there wasn't enough right-of-way, so they declined Mr. Allen's offer. I do not recall talking to Mr. Allen about additional dedication of right-of-way, because that is something that I definitely would have brought to the board's attention. There were other issues, if I may continue, brought up. There was another concern about the condition of Rogers Road, more specifically the trench for the storm sewer system that was run down there. The trench and the paving is according to standard practice. It is temporary paving, and it's going to remain that way till probably April, because we want to make sure that any settlement that occurs in that trench occurs now, not when they finally go in to restore the trench in its permanent condition. There were some areas that had some loose material, some raveling of the blacktop. I met with the contractor, they went out, removed all the loose material, raveled material, and repaved that area. We will continue to monitor it, and they will continue to maintain it and sweep it between now and when it gets to a final condition. But that will stay in temporary paving until, they said, at least April. It's usually 90 days. There was some concerns about discolored water, chocolate water running downstream from the two rain events. Both our office and the Conservation District did meet with the downstream residents, and we brought the contractor with us. The contractor has agreed to install some additional measures downstream on the neighbors' properties. Both neighbors have been very gracious to allow the contractor to do this, to try to help the situation. The water coming off the site will always, for the duration of the project, will probably be discolored. It will not come out crystal clear. The Conservation District, Lisa, met with the Sturzes, and she basically told them that it's going to get worse before it gets any better. And we're just trying to do our best to minimize that situation. The basin is complete. It was approved by the Conservation District. Lisa was there yesterday, and she found no violations. In fact, she's very happy with the site, the way it looks. And the additional controls have not been installed on the Sturza property because the contractor is actually waiting for a hard freeze, because he is trying to not bring in heavy equipment and tear up the lawn areas, trying to do it as least disturbance as possible. So he's hoping that the weather would freeze. You would think in February we would have already had a freeze. So he's waiting. Hopefully, maybe by the beginning of next week, we're going to have 2 or 3 days of below freezing temperatures. They may be able to get in there. They have said that they will contact the Sturzes and their neighbors before they do that, so that they can be present while this is all done. And any damage that they create will be taken care of. They will replace any lawn areas and do that sort of thing. One other issue that was brought up was truck traffic from the construction site using Rogers Road. There is restrictions, a note on the erosion and sedimentation control plans restricting contractor traffic from Rogers Road. They're all supposed to come out of the site and make a right towards York. They're supposed to come in and go out from York Road. We discussed that at the pre-construction meeting, and we've told the contractor and the construction manager that several times. When we got the latest complaint email, I immediately sent the email to the construction manager and the site contractor, again reiterating that we have talked about this before, and that was one of the things that we were adamant on. So they went back and they are trying to figure out who the truck driver, the one truck driver is. The other one was a concrete truck, which is a sub. And both the contractor and the construction manager have reached out to all their drivers, their subcontractors, all material suppliers, to once again tell them that they are not allowed, to come up Rogers Road from Valley Road. They have also said, the construction manager, they will be installing additional signage, one at the end of the property on Rogers Road, which will say no construction traffic beyond this point. They will also install some signs at their entrances telling everybody, all the contractors, that they must turn right there. They are working to install and extend their stabilized entrance into the site so that they can provide a laydown and a parking area. They are hoping to have that completed by the end of next week. They're in the process of stripping and rough grading the site, so hopefully by the end of the next week they'll be able to have enough area on the site to be able to make sure everybody stays in the site and is able to maneuver and do not go down Rogers Road. Two other things that are not, they are related. On Friday, I met with the landscape contractor that the temple has hired to remove the vines. They will be starting sometime this week. They think it'll take about 3 weeks. They will be following the criteria established by Scott Geisner of Penn State, where they will be cutting the vines at ground level, and then they'll gently pull. If the vine comes down, it comes down. If it doesn't come down, they will use one of their longer poles and cut the vine further up so that it's a good chunk out of there. They will only be using hand tools, some power hand tools. They are not bringing any trucks or any equipment into that area. They will bring probably a pickup truck up to the fence and then haul all the vines that they cut down and put it over the fence and into the trucks. And lastly, we received the lighting circuitry plan. We received that also on Friday, but I have not had a chance to look at that plan yet. That is the plan that shows how the parking lot lightings are, let's say, zoned. That they were supposed to have different lights on different circuits, so certain lights can be turned on at certain times or for certain events. And that's basically it. Does the board have any comments?
Mr. Bingler, do you want to respond briefly, please, because we have a very long agenda?
Mario, you did answer a couple of my questions. One is, you said somebody would be replacing the tree. Okay.
I'll look into that.
Well,
Replacing the one tree.
There is, okay. I have another question. Who did the reviews on the temple for the plans? Pickering Courts and Summerlin?
Yes.
Okay. I have a question. When they saw where the line was underneath of the trees for the tree protection, and it clearly states in our ordinance, okay, it has to be outside the drip line of the tree, why didn't that raise any concerns with anybody?
Well, the problem is that if you're putting a line through the woods, you're always going to be over a drip line or 15 feet from a trunk if the trees are packed in closer than that spacing.
Well, the ordinance says it has to be outside the drip line, not only 15 feet, it says it has to be outside the drip line of the tree.
I don't believe the ordinance says that, but
Well, that's where we have sort of a disagreement. I came over to look at the Grasso plans, okay? In the Grasso plans, I have Judy's comments from hers, and she clearly states, when she did a review, that has to be 15 feet outside of the tree or outside of the thing. It's not even close. When you went out to do the inspection, you saw the line of stakes that are right next to the tree.
some trees, yes.
Okay.
That whole line was not next to trees. There are certain trees that are close to the and on the fence, yes.
I don't know if this discussion, I'm going to interrupt at this point, is going to be very productive at this point. I'm happy to meet with both of you after this meeting or some other day with the plans and with the ordinances, and we can get to the bottom of it. But this is not very productive.
This is where it comes. The thing that I said with Mario throwing me under the tree, I believe that if there was a proper review done, it would have come up about the 15 feet. When I read down here, while the ordinance itself does not specify 15 feet, there is several places in our 153 and 175 that clearly states that it has to be 15. And I think that we talked about that.
Okay. I said, I'm willing to sit down and go over it with you and see. If that's okay. I said, I checked the ordinance. I couldn't find the 15 feet. And I will check again.
I will give you a copy of Judy's review, and she clearly states how it has to be done.
Okay.
If anybody else wants one there, in this letter, you will see on the...
If you have an extra.
Yes, I do.
Anything else at this point, Mr. Bingler?
No, not right now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mario, for that report. Mr. O'Malley, you have something to say?
Joe O'Malley, Rogers Road. 11:30 this afternoon, there were 2 trucks parked on Rogers Road.
Did you get an idea of what kind of trucks they were, what labels were on there?
They were Cornell trucks.
Were they on the road?
They were on the road.
We will let them know.
Okay? I'm asking, can we put no parking signs on the road?
Well, I think Mr. Canales did speak to that. Didn't you? Are not the construction people going to be putting more signage on the road?
Well, they're going to be putting no right, all traffic must turn right signs.
Can you also tell them put some parking,
We
no
can have them
parking?
put no parking signs along the road. They said that come the end of next week, hopefully there'll be plenty of room inside the site for them to park. We will, because they have been told more than once that they're not allowed to park on the road. May I ask, were they on the road or were they up on the embankment?
They were trying to stay off the road, but they were on the road.
Okay. We will tell them again.
Okay? Because the road is very narrow there.
I agree with you, Mr. O'Malley. I was by there last Thursday. I drove by and saw the trucks on the road. And don't listen, Chief, but
Because I have my own...
my driving back down to our office, I called and told them to get everybody off the road.
Because I get feedback from my own personal spy, my wife, about 6 times a day what's going on the road. And that's why I questioned and brought all this to Mrs. Lyons' attention.
And we encourage you and the Sturses, the Binglers, and everybody else in that area to please contact us. Let us know right away when these things happen so we can, get to it right there. If your wife or somebody had called at 11:30 today and said there's 3 trucks on the road, parked on the road, I could have called out there and we could have found out who the 3 people were that parked the trucks on the road so we can address that directly with them.
Meeting had been yesterday, I would have done that today. But thank you very much.
Yeah, we do encourage you to call the township building immediately when you see this so we can record it and we can respond to it immediately. Okay? Everybody. Thanks. Come on up, Ken. Hi.
Ken Snyder, 50 Foxcroft Drive, Doylestown. I heard a lot of numerous issues here that the community brought forward, the paving, the runoff, the trucks, the trees, and all that. Is there anything that can be done to make them more self-policing? How do you get them to audit themselves, to check themselves? Because if not, every 2 weeks, you're going to have this same discussion.
Not if they call the township every day, and then we put it in.
But my point is, they shouldn't have to call as often as they are. So how do we put them...
Every development or any kind of construction that occurs anywhere are going to cause problems. And then we can address it as soon as we know about it.
I understand that and I appreciate it. I'm just saying, how do you control it? How do you minimize it? Do you just let it run rampant, or do you try to... Is there something else that can be done? That's all I'm asking.
I just think that, hearing Mr. Bingler at the last meeting and your concerns and all of your concerns, honestly, I will say when I first read the letter, just in regards to, when you brought your pictures in and I read through the letter, everything that you expressed was true. There were trees knocked down, and it seems like the contractors had excuses for it. Well, there was a storm coming, so I do think that, I know that if it was happening around my I would feel the same way that, computer going down. But I would share your concerns of, I don't want to be calling the township because they're doing it again. So I do think that, we need to sit down with Mario and find a better solution to make sure that we don't have to have these continual problems with them. Everything's not going to go 100% smoothly, but we need to really talk to them about that. So I share your concerns with all of that.
If I may, I don't believe the site is that bad. Obviously the neighbors do not agree. We're on construction sites all over the place, and this is one of the better kept construction sites. It is about as clean as you're going to get for a construction site that's at this stage of the game in February. The Conservation District has been out there and written 3 reports, and they've been out there other times, and they have not found anything that concerned them. I mean, these are normal issues that come up during a project of this size. The trench in the road, we had those issues when the water line was put in from Edison Furlong to Pools Corner. The trench was in a temporary condition, and neighbors along that route called about the trench, and we told them the same thing. We went out there, we took care of the places that had raveled and flaked and repaved those areas. So to say that they are not self-policing would be, I think, is a disservice to the construction manager and the site contractor. They are trying, and they are doing as much as they can and doing additional things every time we call. Again, can they do better? Probably, but none of this is perfect. This isn't brain surgery. So we will continue to monitor them, and we will stay on top of them. And for like I said, for the most part, our office and the Conservation District, which are really the only 2 agencies at this moment that are monitoring this, really have no additional issues with the contract.
Okay. Anybody else?
Ernie Gash from 15 Wilkshire Road. I'd just like to make a comment to the people who are in this area. If something comes up that they don't like, document it and let the township know immediately. And then, if you don't feel something is being done by the township, then you bring it up at the meeting here.
Thank you.
I mean, that's what I would do.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Bingler, one last comment, please.
Okay. You can come up, just please do. Sorry.
It's funny, I did come over the Friday before the Tuesday when I made the little speech, and it kind of made me a little mad that nobody ever called me back. I came over here on Friday to report the fence being up against the trees, the material and everything. I never heard anything until Wednesday when Mario called me. I asked Mario if the building inspector ever was in touch with him, and that was on Wednesday afternoon. He said no. So it doesn't always work. And I wish everybody would go out to the site and see where the fence was, okay, up against the trees, and how now that everything is cleared, and it's cleared right up to the fence, what would have happened if they wouldn't have moved the fence?
Okay, thank you. All right, we're moving on with the agenda. Manager.
Yes, I just have a request for Sandra and I to attend a training up in Penn State for PELRAS, and I've listed, because it would be an overnight stay, the price there. We do have several amount of money budgeted so that we could cover that expense.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Approving, second? Is there a second? Approving the trip? Thank you. All in favor of the motion?
Thank you.
It's 5-0.
The other thing is good news. We have won another PSATS award in our citizen communication, and that is for our Doylestown Township second place for our Park and Recreation Program Guide again.
Congratulations, Karen and team.
Yeah.
Thank you. Comments from the supervisors. Sean, do you want to start?
Thank you. I don't have any comments really regarding our boards on which the liaison to. However, I'm going to cover what we discussed at the Ways and Means later on. But I would like to make a motion to appoint those that were kind enough to come out, township residents that came out and applied for, we have 4 different positions. I can go ahead and name them?
Please say them.
All right.
Your name and make a motion to
So I'll make a motion to appoint these 4 residents to these volunteer boards. Joseph Delicat to Public Sewer and Water Committee, as well as the Historical Review Board. Jan Sussenguth to the Park and Recreation Board. Joe Salvati to the Traffic Advisory Committee. and Kevin Brand to the EAC, the Environmental Advisory Council.
I will second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Thanks, Sean. Anything else you want to comment on?
Not right now, unfinished business.
Tom?
I just want to say we have a great group of people here tonight who are serving on boards and commissions. We have over 200 people in this township who do give us that energy and that all that talent, and I just want to thank them for their involvement. They're going to actually report to us tonight on the things that happened last year on the boards and commissions and what they anticipate to happen this year. And I just want to thank everyone who serves this township, because without you, we wouldn't be this great township that we are. So thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Ryan, do you have anything?
I'll reiterate what Tom said. You know, great to see everybody that came out tonight for the vacancies on the different boards, and met with the Traffic Advisory Committee, which I am a liaison to, and again, it was a great group of people and very committed, and looking forward to continuing to work with them. So thank you all for coming out tonight and for being parts of these boards.
Thank you. Rick?
Two things. One, I hope I'm doing my job, which is, as a liaison, is to be, your conduit to the board. So please don't ever hesitate if I'm not doing my job and getting the information back to the board and vice versa. The second thing is, I want to just spend a minute or two and talk about our DTV channel. I had as surfing, which I guess a lot of us do, I had the great fortune to hit upon the history of Kids Castle, which was is on our TV station. And I encourage you all just to take a half hour, and it goes through how the Kids Castle started, how it got going. You talk about volunteers. I won't tell you how many volunteers there were. If you watch this, you'll see. But I'll bet you can't come within. You won't guess how many people were involved and how they coordinated everything. And Dawn Byers even mentions at the end that it's probably to build this Kids Castle today would be $1 million. So we got a jewel here, and it's a great spot on DTV. So please take a few minutes and look at it. If you want to know when it's on, you go to our website. It's got a list of all the shows that are on DTV. Also has a list of all the leaf pickups or drop-offs. I will grant you, some of the stuff is hard to find. I do a lot of hunting and pecking and looking for it, and I think over time maybe we get that straightened out, and that's part of what we've been doing. We continually add things to the website, and when you continually add things to a website, it becomes disjointed because you're not in a nice, perfect a streamlined system. So that's something I think in the future we can address. But please go online and look at when your DTV stations are on, and you will enjoy it.
Doylestown TV. It's DTV?
Correct.
Okay. Thanks, everybody, for coming tonight, especially your boards and commissions, volunteers. I'm going to pass on any comments and get on with the agenda, because you guys have been waiting patiently to start. Unfinished business. Sean, do you want to speak to the Ways and Means Subcommittee?
Please. Thank you. At the previous meeting, some of you in attendance, I brought up the idea, the concept of an alternative fundraising committee. We discussed the concept being rather still in the planning stage, too, pulling the resources, which are volunteers, which are many boards and commissions, of ideas for alternative ideas for fundraising, throwing them, as I referred to, at the wall, seeing what sticks, hashing them out, and really just seeing if there's an appetite for that type of grassroots project. So since then, I did attend a few meetings and attended the Ways and Means Committee meeting. In general, I think that was very well received. I think all the members of that board expressed an interest in participating. I think we said that was essential that they participate in that. So going forward at this stage, we have an informal first meeting of gathering, we'll call it, since it's not an official meeting, of the Fund Development Committee on March 12th at 6 p.m. We're going to meet here. have some pizzas, as I suggested, and hash out some ideas. And that's where a lot of these things start. So we're optimistic that we'll get some good ideas from there. And if going forward, if it's going to become a formalized committee as well as a regular scheduled meeting, then we'll take the necessary steps to the formation of that.
Excellent, thank you.
Yeah.
March 12th, 6 p.m. here, correct?
Right here.
Thank you. Okay. Sorry, I lost my place. New business. Exoneration of the tax collector. We need a motion to exonerate the tax collector for the uncollected 2011 taxes.
And the reason for that is you really don't excuse a tax collector, but the unpaid taxes are transferred to the Tax Claim Bureau, and the County of Bucks takes on the responsibility of collecting the taxes by law. So tax collector has done what they can do, and then the county takes over from there.
Is there a motion to exonerate the tax collector?
I'll make a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
I abstain.
Thank you. 4 and 1 abstention. The lawn maintenance bid for 2011, 12, and 13.
Right, this is Dick's memo. This is a renewal of Bias Landscaping. When they had bid initially, there was a 2-year, 1-year extensions, and they have agreed to hold their price from what we paid in 2011.
Awesome. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Questions or comments, concerns? All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye. 5-0. Thank you. Zoning hearing board application for 1360 Alms House Road.
Right, this is the Warrington Country Club, looking to have a new owner, and I would recommend that we leave this matter to the zoning hearing board.
I would say send it to zoning hearing.
Okay, the consensus is the matter stays with the zoning hearing board. Thank you. Bills list for February 7th, 2012. Is there a motion to
Move for
approve?
approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions or comments about the bills list? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, 5-0. Thank you. Boards and commissions presentations. Solicitor is excused. Boy, you couldn't wait to get out of here. Don't take it personally.
We might need you.
Engineer excused.
The engineer is also excused. If you want to grab him on your way out. See? Yeah, that would be good. Mr. Bingler, Mr. Canales, if you want to take a few minutes, he's leaving, but he wants to speak with you. Thank you. All right, zoning hearing board. Anybody here? We know what you do. Come on up here and tell us about your good work in 30 seconds or less.
They call it a 30
Okay, you can have a minute. How are you?
Just fine, thanks. As each of you know, that the zoning hearing board is a little bit different than the other boards and commissions, so we really can't discuss the issues that are brought before us because the ramifications of our decisions can go on to, if you will, Bucks County Court and on to Commonwealth Court, and if necessary, all the way to the top of the state. We did have 7 applications this year. We rendered 6 decisions. 2 of them are under appeal. At least my understanding, 2 of them are under appeal. One of them being a cell tower application, which was denied out on Edison Furlong Road. The second one was the sign on 611 by the Barnes Cinema. That has been appealed also. I do not know the results of those because we're in a rather unique situation. The zoning hearing board renders its decision, but our solicitor does not represent us in the appeal process. They are solicitors that are specialists, if you will, in the field, and the township employs those specialists. We have one case which we have not issued a decision on. We'll be meeting an executive session on Martin Luther King Day in Percy. There was a conflict of interest with our solicitor and the applicant in that particular case, so we went outside to avoid any appearance of conflict of interest. And then, of course, the application you just discussed this evening will be the first one that we'll hear this in 2012, and that's the Warrington Country Club expansion. As I understand it, it's their banquet facilities, but I have not read the application in detail.
Thank you. Thank you for your service. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Ways and Means. Did I hear you had a PowerPoint presentation?
This should only take about 35 minutes.
You're not going to upset me, but you might upset the other members.
Having been at the end of the alphabet for years,
I did accommodate your request, Mr.
Which means bike and hike goes last.
There's only 2 rows for me, so I have to behave.
That's
Welcome,
impossible.
everyone.
Sorry, Lynn Goldman. You get to go last tonight.
We'll be fast here. There's a few things to say. Is it up or no? Okay.
I think Ed might be trying to do it from the
Well, my first one deals with the fact, just to kind of keep it rolling, that times are tough, and mortgage crisis, financial and economic turmoil.
There we go.
You might want to put the lights down a little bit, but
It's kind of
a lot of things have impacted the township over the last few years. Lower wages and unemployment result in lower earned income taxes from the township. The mortgage and real estate crisis has pretty much hurt us in terms of real estate transfer taxes, and we have other economics. So the first slide is kind of a little bit one of my favorite slides, is just to remind us that times are tough, we're aware of it, and the tagline there, if you can't see it, is in light of the recent events, I'm afraid I'm going to have to eat some of you, and the lions at the head of the table, but there are, frankly, when we've gone through the last few years, we have had to do a lot with the township. The board has been very responsive, and hasn't always been easy because, you try to get 8 pounds into a 5-pound bag, and it doesn't always work, and unfortunately, for a lot of people, there were tax increases, 2010. We don't take that lightly, and I don't think anyone on the board did. So just a little bit of a reminder. So what do we do? I mean, it wasn't just 2011. It was kind of more what I would say is a paradigm shift. We've ended up in a current state where we have used increasingly more automation, streamlined reporting, more analysis, and also more of a forward-looking orientation. And I think that's taken a couple of years to take root. And if you look at the former state, this is not a criticism, this is just as the township grew up over time, probably more in terms of manual processes, a bit more onerous in terms of reporting, more of an aggregated view of finances, and more of a historical kind of rear-view mirror perspective. But I think we're in a pretty good state as we kind of move forward. And that's taken a few years, and we work very proactively with management. To give you a little sense of how we spend our time, there's kind of 5 areas that I would bucket here. Monthly financial review. We meet every month, go over various financial analyses and reports. We do quarterly management reviews. We do extensive budgeting and forecasting. We do research and technical support. And we deal with the infamous ad hoc matters, anything from, over the last few years, bond refinancing, ambulance tax, term financing, you name it, we deal with it. And that just gives you a little bit of a flavor for the distribution of how we do that. If you're interested in seeing us in action, we have regular monthly meetings at fourth Wednesday at 7 p.m. Most of us are able to make it most of the time. We recognize that it's a little challenging at times. We hold about 4 to 5 budget work sessions annually. They typically run September to November. 1 to 2 special purpose meetings, various ad hoc management meetings, and of course personal time. So there's a lot of input from a lot of different people, and our committee right now is comprised of 2 original members, myself and Brenda Bray, Ed Ebenbach, who's also very instrumental in making this communication work here on another committee, joined in 2008, and more recently Lee Schwartz joined in 2010 and Ed Denton in 2011. It's been a pretty cohesive group, and we have some continuity as we move forward. So what are we working on in 2012, just to kind of close some thoughts? Clearly, we want to continue to improve automation, the quality of data, the quality of financial reporting. But I think 2 things on this slide will jump out. One is we are looking a bit deeper around some of the analysis around staffing and related costs. We have a new police contract, we have salaries, we have benefits. A lot of those themes have kind of recurred at some of the previous board meetings, so we're going to take a little bit deeper dive into that. And then, as Sean mentioned, we are going to look for new sources of revenue. We came up with a few ideas. We're not going to spoil anything for March 12th, but, effectively, we always look at ways of new sources and reduce spending. But probably the biggest thing we'll do in 2012 is item number 4. We're going to do a 3-year forecast. And we're going to identify, hopefully, funding gaps, funding shortfalls that look out not just to 2013, which we're not expecting a shortfall, but when you look out to 2014, 2015, and beyond, I think that the picture can change quite dramatically with relatively small changes in revenue and small changes in expenses. So we're going to make sure we're ahead of the curve on that and have that forward-looking orientation. So that's kind of my 30 seconds.
Excellent, excellent. You know I'm going to continue as your liaison, sorry.
Yeah. Rick was counting on it.
Thank you very much. Very well done, thank you.
I don't know how to shut it.
Traffic Advisory, Mark? You have a new member.
Yes, I heard. District 8 again, Mark, you can make him the secretary.
Yeah, there we go. We couldn't get anybody to volunteer for secretary position, so there we go. We might have a volunteer. Okay. This year a lot of our time was spent dealing with the whole one area of the township, Sourman, Turk, Rogers, and Sugar Bottom, and some of the traffic problems down there. The good news is that enforcement, thanks to, in the presentation mode.
Yeah, there you go.
That enforcement, thanks to the efforts of Chief White and Lieutenant Logan and their staff, the enforcement seems to be working in most cases. The one notable exception there is Sugar Bottom, because it's owned by 3 different townships. There's some issues there with being able to enforce it adequately. We worked with the Planning Commission mid-year to get through the road classification project. I think we had wrapped it up pretty much at the end of 2009, early 2010, and passed it over to them. So that's good. That was done and passed on by the board. Thank you. And then we always look at new development plans. There haven't been many this year, as you well know. And then also participated in a regional planning effort for PennDOT, and that was looking at the major corridors. Both Alan and I attended different meetings of that. What we anticipate is going to go on this year is, at this point, we're kind of at a crossroads. We've got to determine what's going to happen, with these roads if we pull the enforcement. The enforcement is working well. The signs we got, the monitoring speed boards have definitely helped. I guess we purchased them in October. They've definitely helped in that monitoring effort and have given us some great statistics. But if they aren't really achieving the results, then we have to decide at that point if we need to go into traffic calming. Sourman would probably be the first where we would try that on. And then, of course, we're going to be continuing to monitor the Rogers Road and what goes on down there, and I guess next Board of Supervisors meeting, there's going to be some discussion on that. We're still waiting for the CB School District to fund that project for Kutz Elementary. We've had some complaints to that area. It's kind of waiting for the second half of the funding there. I anticipate the parkway is going to have major traffic changes in the township, and I'm trying to hold off on the traffic calming until we see where that goes, because I think it's going to change patterns tremendously. And then, of course, we'll continue the PennDOT regional planning efforts. So,
thank you, Mark.
Any questions? Okay,
thank you very much for your work.
Yeah, thank you for your support.
Telecommunications, Kurt? One of the most exciting boards and commissions.
Let's see.
Because you get to be on TV.
Yeah, turn this on.
Okay. Well, thanks. I'm Kurt Kraus, and I'll give an update for the Telecommunication Advisory Board to me, Ed Ebenbach, and Joe Salvetti. So we'll start with, we've spent a lot of time this year on programming. As Mr. Clow mentioned, one of the new programs is Kids Castle. We've continued the daily EAC, the environmental programming, at 6 a.m. and p.m., and a new set of programming around health awareness in addition to the Summit on Aging. We've continued to use the channel to promote township activities, and then this year we came up with a new DTV logo and have added titles and captions at the bottom of the video to help orient what's being played. One of the other exciting things we've started is web streaming pilot, which started in October of this past year. We're streaming live now on the internet, plus this video is then saved and available for replay on demand by residents. We also have loaded all the video that we have stored, as well as the minutes and agendas, not only for for the supervisors, but for any board and committee, and they're accessible on the website and searchable. And actually has some usage statistics on the next slide. We've installed the overhead projector and lectern. This lectern is new, and the overhead projector was installed earlier this year. And then there's a bunch of behind-the-scene technical improvements that address quality of the sound and video. And then finally, we did some work on technical documentation. So in terms of usage, so what we did was the website is connected to Google Analytics, which we use to get the statistics of access. And this represents the period of time between January 3rd and February 3rd, so this past month. So in that time, there were 338 visitors. 216 were unique visitors. That means, the rest of them visited multiple times. And for this month, there were 177 of that were new visitors to this set of features on the website. What's interesting, and it's shown in the bar graph, a little hard to see here, but for the supervisor meetings are the most popular event. It draws the most people to the website. And there, it says there are between 35 and 40 people watching and accessing the website the day of the supervisors meeting. The other thing that's interesting is that the access comes through the main township website, which is what we want to do. So this is through an outsourced service, but the access, residents are accessing Doylestown, PA, and then linking to the website. We also have insight as to, generally 50% are accessing the site from Doylestown. Next is interesting enough, Philadelphia area, and then the surrounding communities make up most of the accesses. And then we also took a look at mobile versus, standard PC. So relatively small percent. Most people are accessing it on a PC. A few on mobile devices, and of those are breakdown iPhones, iPads, and these Android devices. And then the final item that with all the data up there, the site does offer the ability to search on minutes and agendas. And the search terms that came up over this past month were 2012 budget, Act 44. There were a variety of developer names and development names that are kind of recent in the agenda that were used to search. So people are using the site and using it to get to data about different meetings, and it seems to be used the way. Well, the key conclusion here is, as we've been looking at the numbers, we think the numbers are numerically significant. It's, if you just look at the number of people in the room, if 35 or 40 people are out there, that's 35 or 40 people. In addition to the TV, they're accessing this that weren't using it before. And the number of visitors for a very specialized site is also, we think, pretty significant. So we're excited about the results. And as we get into later this year, one of our objectives, the second one, is to review and to make a decision as to whether we extend web streaming beyond the pilot period. We have enough funding to do it. It's prepaid and funded through the end of this year. But we'll have to make a decision whether we'll continue the service into next year. Back up on programming, Joe Salvati, has been leading an effort on Moments in Time, which is an oral history of Township, and it's a tremendous amount of work. He's got interviews that have been taken. Now he's assembling those into a video that he's targeting to complete by the end of the year, and then continue work on other programming. We have a project actually to replace this lectern. This Ed found this, and it's kind of been revived. But so we're working to figure out how to upgrade this, make it a little more technology friendly, and match the main desk in a very cost effective way. Additional technical upgrades, stuff that you don't see, but will just help improve the overall quality. One of the things that now is coming up, since we've been doing this for a couple years, is some of our equipment is starting to age. So this past year we had to replace a few pieces that failed, and we're looking to get a longer range plan in for how we'll deal with equipment as it ages and becomes older. And then Comcast franchise renewal negotiations are going to start in the next month or two. The current franchise agreement for Comcast is up in March of 2013. Okay. So there'll be a lot on that as we go through the year. And then finally, as mentioned in one of the other previous meetings, we're going to look for and kind of brainstorm on if there's any ways to leverage the telecommunication capabilities for potential new revenue streams. So we'll take a look at that this year.
Very good. We're very excited about your results, too. Thank you so much.
Okay, thanks.
Well done.
Yeah, thank you for your hard work.
The Central Bucks Regional Senior Task Force is chaired by Bill Lloyd. I am the new liaison, and unfortunately, Mr. Lloyd can't be here tonight. But the Regional Task Force was formed to provide development and communications with the senior population, both on a local, state, and federal level, to create awareness in the issues that affect seniors, in particular health and wellness and other issues. They provide programming throughout the year, special seminars and guest appearances, and it looks like they have something every month. And so we will be publishing the program for the senior task force on our website and on our DTV, and hopefully we'll be able to televise some of these programs. So look for more information on the Central Bucks Senior Regional Task Force, and please do take part in this information or these lecture series, because they produce a lot of great information. All right, thank you. The next item is the report is from the Public Water Sewer Advisory Committee. Is anybody here from that committee, board?
I don't think anybody's
Well, they
here
have a
this
new member tonight, so we'll let them know
We'll let
about
them know.
that.
Mhm.
They are continuing in the Pebble Hill study. I do believe that they're waiting for the Bucks County Sewer Water Authority to issue its report, and then the committee will be presenting to the Township Board of Supervisors with a recommendation as to going forward or not with sewers in that study region. Planning Commission, Mr. Snyder.
Sandra, we're having technical difficulties.
No, I didn't. I see it. Anyway, my first slide.
There you go. Thank you.
Yeah, what I wanted to show here was just the current members for 2011, and there for 2012, there were some changes in some of the appointments. George was the chair in 11, and Judy is the chair in 2012. Judy was the vice chair, and I will be the vice chair in 2012. And then we continue to have Rick and Stephanie and Judy, and look for their support throughout 2012 as well. The reason I'm doing this is because Judy is stuck in Jamaica.
Oh,
Where is it? Jamaica. She's stuck.
What a
down
place
there.
to be stuck in.
Yeah, right.
In winter.
When we look at the type of work that the Planning Commission does, I broke it down into two categories. One is land development, and then other types of project work. So this is the list of the projects that came through the Planning Commission in 2011 and the status of what happened. You can see it varies from Central Bucks YMCA sketch plans all the way down to the Thompson Toyota expansion, which is a preliminary and final plan, which has been ongoing for years. So there's a number of exciting projects here, and some not as exciting, and obviously it keeps us pretty busy to stay on top of all these land development work. So every month we're usually reviewing something. The other type of projects is like the street hierarchy, one that Mark talked about, where the Traffic Advisory Committee spent a lot of work on it. It was then transferred over to the Planning Commission, and that we recommended approval in September. Looked at the Legacy Tree Program in September, and the Chamonix Watershed Act, the Outdoor Furnace Ordinance, the farm, shop, and vineyard use. And I wanted to make this a special comment on this one, because this one was an issue that was brought forward to the Planning Commission, and say, we have an issue, or we want to bring something up for discussion. And the Planning Commission said, well, it's a one-of. It didn't happen that often, so we don't need to make it an ordinance. We want to do some common sense about it and really put some logic behind it. Let's not overburden everybody with a lot of paperwork and rules and regulations if it's not needed. Let's just see where it goes. And then, obviously, we reviewed the Plumstead Township Comprehensive Plan as well. So for 2012, obviously, the most important one is to continue all those land development activities that I had listed on the second slide, and any new ones that are going to be brought forward. That's a big thing. The street hierarchy, continue to work closely with the Traffic Advisory Committee to make sure all those improvements that we can identify are put into action and taken care of. We work very closely with the Bike and Hike, so we're going to continue to do that. Bucks Planning Commission, really make sure we're in lockstep with that commission. And then also try to get more go green. And meaning is, taking forward more energy efficient uses and what we're doing with planning developments and everything else. And how do we, get some new ideas out there to save us all some energy. So.
Thank you.
That's about it.
Thank you very much, Ken. Good job. Okay, Park and Rec, John Bray. And Kathy, is Kathy here still? No, I guess she left.
Good evening. As we all discovered, we've won another award for our program publication, which we're very proud of. It's always good, and it's nice to be recognized as being one of the best in the state. All of the programs that you saw in our guide are underway. It's the usual programs. It's a wide array of different things for folks in the community to do, and we're, of course, going to be continuing those. We have new web access for payment and registration, which is very popular, and it's proving to be very successful, I think, in terms of even enhancing the revenue that we're receiving from our programs. Projects underway. The Game Grove continues. It's a long-term plan. We made some headway this past year. We got some trees planted. We've got some furniture to plant, and I'd like to propose that this nice donation from our neighbors go to buying a little more furniture for the Game Grove. It's something tangible that those folks who contributed the money can see. It's right there as really part of their community, and so if you all agree, I'll turn this over to Stephanie, and maybe we can make that happen. The Dog Park is underway, and that's really gaining a lot of traction, and we think we'll see some dogs in the dog park this year. We're really looking forward to the completion of the parkway for obvious reasons. We all like to want to use it, but there's going to be a nice bike and hike trail along there that's going to communicate with our parks, and we get a couple of new fields. We have to wait till the grass grows before we can use them, but it's nice to have them, and it'll be nice to look at them for a while, even if we don't get to use them right away. We really have a new focus on the Park Board and in the Park and Recreation Department, and that's revenue. We really think that there are going to be some opportunities to utilize a tremendous resource in our community that we all have spent a lot of time paying for to further benefit our programs. And so we do have a very stern focus on generating some revenue from our programs and from other activities that we may be thinking of from time to time. And finally, I'd like to welcome Jan. We're anxious to see you, I guess, next week if you're available for our next meeting, and we'll look forward to your contribution, and I hope you'll have a good time. We all have a good time on the Park Board. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
And thank the members. We love the Park Board.
Thank you.
Open space. Dr. Feldstein? Who celebrated his 90th birthday in 2011?
Members of the board, members of the audience, I see it's getting smaller and smaller as the evening goes on, so I'm not in the clean-up hitter yet. But in any case, members of the board, and especially members of the new members of the board and the audience, it's always my pleasure to come here and to report on behalf of the plan of the Open Space and Farmland Preservation Board, which consists of some outstanding people. Tom Kelso, who's in the audience today, Harold Jones, Jeffrey Furr, and Stephanie Mason, of course, who's the manager of and we have the liaisons, Barbara Lyons, Allison with 2 L's, by the way, Hamilton, and also Don Richardson. We meet once a month and as needed, and we've accomplished an awful lot, I believe. Just for the sake of mentioning some points to those new members of the board, our committee and our board, rather, has been given by the Bucks County Commissioners $620,408, which actually should represent 75% of the expenditures for the acquisition of any kind of properties, either fee simple or some kind of other way. And generally speaking, every township in the county contributes 25%. We are the only one that's not, so we are saving you over $200,000. We are, because we have been able to convince the participants in our program to contribute that 25%, which generally speaking the individuals that the board would have to commit, or the supervisor, the township would have to commit to it, and we convince them to participate in it and to check with our accountants and see whether they can get any benefit from a tax standpoint. So this is what we're doing, and we've accomplished much. The township is 15.54 square miles. And I want to repeat that. The township is 15.54 square miles, which means if you take 640 acres per square mile, it's 9,945.6 acres. That's the whole township. That's every inch of it. And as of this moment that we speak right now, over 12.8% of the township has been preserved. I want to repeat that. Over 12.8% has been reserved, and we're doing everything possible, obviously, with the money that's allocated to us, to handle it wisely and prudently. We have an excellent board that discusses all those things, but as you understand, it's a process. Once we make the recommendation, it comes to you, to the board. Once you approve it, then it goes to the Open Space Board of Bucks County, on which I serve, by the way. And when they approve that, then it goes to the commissioners, and they have to approve that. But generally speaking, whenever the Bucks County Open Space Board approves anything and goes to the commissioners, they have always approved it. There were no exceptions of any kind, because they rely upon our efforts and upon what we accomplish. Now, our board has done an awful lot. I'm talking about all of you. I've lived in Bucks County in the township for 73 years, and I've seen it grow and expand. When I came to Bucks County, there were 100,000 people in the whole county. In fact, one person from New York did not remember my last name, and he sent a postcard, Josh, Bucks County, Pennsylvania, and I got it. And I hope someday that my two sons, when they root through the attic, through the boxes, will see that postcard, a 2-cent postcard, and that will be really an antique. And once it comes in, I want it to be placed here in this building. But you have accomplished much, and above all, we ought to be very, very proud of the Central Park. Because I recall distinctly when people opposed it, and I still remember the late John Carson asked me once to speak to the audience up here to convince them, and there was lots of opposition. And I recall the remark I made, that you may curse us right now, but one day you will bless us. And one of the most vigorous opponents came back 2 years later and said that you were right. So we can be proud of it. And by the way, the park of ours is almost 100 acres, and the Central Park in Manhattan is 843 acres. So Manhattan has a park that's 8.5 times bigger than us, but they have over 8 million people. So you can see that we have provided our township and our community with something wonderful. Keep up the good work and help us to secure more land. If anybody knows any property in our township, any of you members of the board or anybody else, please let us know, because we want to do the best we can, and we are going to appeal once again to the commissioners to get some more money so we can build up and actually get easements on more properties that we can. That means more things for us. So once again, it's been a good year, and we have a wonderful board, and I hope they all stay together as they are, and we are doing the best we can. And I wish all of you, by the way, a very happy holiday and a wonderful year, much better one than this last year. You take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have some pretty exciting potential acquisitions in the pipeline. What? Any questions?
I'll make it whatever to answer the question.
Oh, any questions?
No questions. Well, as an old prof, you don't get any questions of any kind. You either confuse the two people or you bore them.
Doylestown Township Municipal Authority? Nobody here. They put water in the ground. Oh, wait, Mr. Baxter. I beg your pardon. You didn't speak up quickly enough.
So Dick was asleep back.
I'm a very quiet guy.
You had an exciting year.
Yes, we did. I am Dick Black, representing the Board of the Municipal Authority. We had a great year in 2011. We continue to work with our neighbors and the DEP and the DER to mitigate problems and work with our neighbors to avoid any conflict of providing water or other areas. Our customer count increased by 1% this year. Our new total of direct billed is 2,558 customers. If, however, we were to add to that the bulk service we provide, which would include Child's Mobile Homes, New Britain Borough, and the Chamonix Manor Complex, Patriot Ridge, and several standalone customers, there would be an additional 1,565 customers for a total of 4,123. The water volume, we provide about 1 million gallons of water a day. Excuse me. We have hydraulic studies which show that we could pump 4 million gallons a day with no adverse effect on our water table. So we have plenty of room to expand. Excuse me, my wife has this cold that she keeps giving back to me and I can't get rid of it. Contamination in Furlong, you're all aware of the problem that's there and that we keep working. The DEP is very willing to work with us, has provided funds. We've had some funds available. The funds are on hold as we continue to work out some problems in our joint efforts with Buckingham Township. There is obviously a long history of groundwater contamination there. We all would love to get rid of it, and we hope that we can continue to do that this year. The DEP does have about $900,000, which they have on hold, in effect on hold for us to use for that project. So as soon as we can work it out, and I think you can give a better explanation, but evidently Buckingham Township does not have the wells, the facilities to help with us to do that, so we'll work on that. The Cross Keys Water Service District was a great project this year. We laid 14,000 feet of pipe through the Cross Keys area in Buckingham Township, Doylestown Township, and Plumstead Township to over 100 parcels. We are collecting reimbursement in costs of the excess of the $2 million that DEP paid. We so far have $754,993.93 as reimbursement, so we're working toward that reimbursement. The 90% of the wells are now connected to our supply. They have eliminated their private water and have connected to our supply, which is the ultimate goal. Quick commercial here. We would ask the township supervisors to once again consider mandatory connection fees, which would be good for all of us. The other projects, the Edison to Pools Corner Water Project was another 10,000 feet of water main that was laid out through Cherry Lane, Pebble Hill Road, Turk Road, and East Road. The water mains are in. We are waiting for the testing of the hydrants so that the systems can be fully operational. We have a booster station the project is beginning. It will cost us about $250,000. It is a piece of ground with a pumping station that we have obtained from the Central Buck School District. It's a very expensive purchase, $1 a year. They gave us a 90-year lease, so we're in pretty good shape as far as the facility. We will be doing it to use it for our pumping station. Carriage Hill, if anyone has driven up Route 313 lately, you'll see that Carriage Hill is proceeding. There is a plan for 463 homes in Carriage Hill, to whom we will provide water. We have 24 hookups?
Yes.
I think we have 24 so far have connected. There will be a total of 463, and in spite of what we all know is not the best of times in the economy and the real estate market, they are proceeding apace. I just went up the road this morning, and I see they've torn some more of the ground away to provide their right turn lane to get into the project. So we're looking for that to be completed this year, or at least the ones that are completed. The Sandy Ridge Road project has been put on hold. We're looking for a favorable change in the economy. We have installed corrosion control equipment in our 2 well houses, which reduce the leaching of lead and copper within your system at home. We also have installed a new system which will allow our staff to get a daily or on active time statement of the condition of each of the wells in our pumping stations. And I guess nothing more we can say except to thank the board members. We want to thank Quan and Ron in the financial department for their help, the office staff, Stephanie and everyone in the office for their work, Scott, Joe, Mike, and Brent, the guys that are doing the work, Dick John, who cracks the whip over all of us on a daily basis, and especially you, the supervisors, and we thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Jack.
I'm really happy about that corrosive controls you put on your systems. It helps with my highlights.
Yes, very much.
I'm turning green. Thank you. Keith Peters on the EAC. We're getting there.
Good evening. Keith Peters with the EAC. I wanted to let everyone know that this year we reviewed 6 development plans and were able to comment on them. That was a lot better than 2010 when we only had 1 development plan. So we've increased 6-fold. That was great. The EAC, the Township Environmental Advisory Council, is working in conjunction with Doylestown Borough on several projects. One of them is the EAC Summit. We hold a Bucksmont Summit, EAC Summit, each year, and this year will be the 5th year. Last year, 2011, was the 4th year. We held it at Del Val College because the bridge was out here up at Wells Road, so it was convenient for everyone to go up to Del Val College and hold it there. This year, I think we might be holding it again here on our property. Also, in conjunction with the borough, the township has gotten approval from the Board of Supervisors for the Birdtown program. It's an Audubon Society program whereby, sort of like the Tree City USA program that the township currently is involved with, we can recognize properties and habitats that encourage bird activity. The Shade Tree Commission has been active the last year, 2011, in reviewing some submissions from residents to see if they want to have some tree protection, and we're working with other boards and commissions and the Board of Supervisors to see if there are ways to pursue that more formally. There was a grant that was done for the invasive species trail that will be done in the educational area. It should be done in April of this year, but that was a big project for last year. We've expanded the leaf and yard waste drop-off program with the cooperation, of course, of township staff, Dick and his people, from Del Val's site by the farm market there to the back entrance off of New Britain Road for Central Park here, and we do that monthly. The township participates in Act 101 by doing that monthly drop-off thing, including the tree drop-off program in January and February. We do the leaf and yard waste the rest of the year. Of course, with the big snowstorm we had in October, brought down a lot of branches and leaves, and people were able to bring them over there, and that's something that we want to do with diverting that waste from the normal landfill waste stream. We continued the Big Green Box program where residents are encouraged to bring batteries, household batteries, not car batteries, but regular household batteries, lithium, hearing aid batteries, alkaline batteries, rechargeable tool batteries, and so forth to the township. We can ship them off and get them recycled. We're trying again to get stuff out of the waste stream. We hosted Arbor Day. You heard John talk about that earlier, where we planted 60 trees at the Game Grove here in Central Park. We had cooperation with the Boy Scouts and also the Central Bucks West Key Club and township staff. So we had a very nice day, and we actually also heard about the Doylestown Television. We were able to put a program together where we showed how we got instruction on how to plant trees properly and made a program out of that shows every night, or most nights, at the EAC hour at 6 p.m. and 6 a.m. We worked in conjunction with the TAB board to make sure that DTV has the EAC hour every night at 6 p.m. and every morning at 6 a.m. with the rain garden dedication up at Del Val College, the tree planting, and we're also doing things from NOAA, like Water's Fury and so forth. And we're gathering residents' opinions. Last year we started a survey for trash collection or waste collection so that anybody that's here tonight or anybody that's watching out there could go to the website and get the link to fill out the trash survey. We also have them in the township newsletter. We'd like to report to the Board of Supervisors fairly soon, so if there's anybody watching or anybody here tonight that hasn't had a chance to fill out a trash survey, I'd encourage you to do so. And, of course, we would like to thank the Board of Supervisors for all they do and the township staff for all they do in helping environmentally and shade tree-wise what we do on our committee. Thank you.
Thank you.
If anyone needs a trash survey, I got it.
Trash survey, okay.
Trash survey.
We'll put them on the back table.
Okay, thanks. Staff, you want to report on the Performing Arts Council?
Absolutely. I have with me this evening the Sounds of Summer sponsorship opportunities, so if anyone is interested, we're always looking for sponsors. And we are kicking off our Tribute Summer, Sounds of Summer 2012 schedule. June 27th, Almost Fab, Beatles Sounds at Chapman Park. July 1st or July 8th for a rain date, the Philly Horn Dance Band, and of course fireworks in Central Park. July 11th, we will be back at Chapman for Doylestown Heat. This is our big band era music. And on July 18th, the Robert Eric Band, a Billy Joel tribute band, which will be at Central Park. And July 25th, the Rave-On Band. This is Buddy Holly and other legend tributes. That will be at Chapman Park. And August 1st will be the Beach Bums, Summertime, Beach Boys Buffet Music in Central Park. And I believe the July 11th will, the Lions Club is helping out with that as well. So, again, great. Looking forward to a great summer.
Sponsorship opportunities.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. Last but not least, Lynn Goldman, Bike and Hike.
And Tom, I think.
And Tom Kelso, you got to grab her. She sat here all night.
No, we had talked about
Okay. We came prepared here.
Grab her.
Grab her. Thank you. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, well, you can do it.
That going here. Where is that? Far left. Right there? Oh, I see it. Yep. Good. And Lynn will talk, I think, a little bit about what we've done over the past year, but we wanted to take this opportunity, just because we have a lot of momentum going on this part of the project. We're going to ask you for some consideration tonight of moving ahead with this. We gave a presentation back in June on this same topic when we applied for a William Penn Foundation grant through the Delaware Valley Regional Planning Commission. As you know, we got that grant. And it's concerning the Chamonix Greenway, which is on everybody's priority list, and it's been on the county's priority list to create the Chamonix Greenway path for decades. And I'm not saying 1 or 2 decades, but for, I think, 3 or 4 decades. And the township is, I think, probably the only township that has really made progress on this. And we also have the Route 202 Parkway, as we talked about tonight, ready to go. And those two cross in Doylestown Township. So it really provides a lot of opportunities, and that's why we're seeing money coming in. And, of course, we're working with Chalfont Borough, New Britain Borough, everybody, Doylestown Township, or Doylestown Borough. Everybody's working together on this one project right now. And it's all about connections, connecting our existing paths
to the Parkway and communities, and connecting things, specific things like the train stations. And I think that's why we've got a lot of momentum on it. And we presented this in June as a three-phase project. The first phase is the connection right outside here to connect this facility to the Parkway and to complete some of the Greenway path. And really what's happened with that phase through the efforts, I think, of Dick and Stephanie and other people, it's almost done we haven't spent any money on it yet. And it sort of took a life of its own. We've got the developer parent agreeing to build the path, and they're planning on starting this spring along the stream up through the Neiman property. We've got PennDOT, and I think, Dick, you probably did most of the pushing on this. They've completed portions that we expected to use this money on, just small portions along Wells Road and the portion up along Lower State Road they're completing. So we have really, in Phase 1, what we have left to do is the bridge on Wells Road. And Dick's been working on that. We plan on using the DVRPC money to do that, but it's only about a third of what we receive from them. So what we're looking at is, and another part of this is the sign program. We've come to the point where you can go a long distance on these paths now, and it'll get confusing with the intersection of these paths, and we're looking to put in some significant wayfinding signs and safety signs. I think we're going to see a lot more bicycling on these paths than we have in the past, which creates some safety concerns. But we're really looking at pushing some of this money into Phase 2 right now, and looking at getting Baker Engineers on board, and thanks for appointing them. That's been a big help to us, just having them available to move on some of these things quickly. But to get them working on the design of this Phase 2, and Phase 2 is, maybe I need to explain that just for a second, but here's the Chalfont-New Britain Treatment Plant, Upper State Road, and this is the Parkway where it crosses the Neshaminy Creek. So we're looking at that section that goes up through along the stream. Probably one of the most significant environmental areas in the township, probably one of the largest contiguous wetland areas in central Bucks, and just a beautiful part of the township. And so we'd like to get Baker Engineers moving ahead on the design of that, getting the permitting going, and to move towards building some of that. We have easement agreements out being reviewed right now for that. And then Phase 3 leaves the township for the most part. This is Upper State, the treatment plant. We talked about Phase 2 coming through here. And it'll continue in Phase 3 along Upper State Road. And we've met with John over at the Chalfont-New Britain Treatment Plant, and there's a general agreement to put that path along their property on Upper State Road and clean up that whole area. Dick wants to take care of some major drainage problems there at the same time. But then we move into, Phase 3 moves into New Britain Township, Chalfont Borough, and New Britain Borough at that point. And what we're asking, what the committee would like to ask, is that we can continue negotiating these easements for Phase 2. I think they're in front of Jeff Garten right now, and that's why he left, because we're going to hit him up on that.
Deadlines. He works with deadlines. I told you that.
There's a time to sneak out.
We'd like to have get authorization to have Baker Engineers move ahead with the design of Phase 2. We have the money there. We'd like to, I guess Dick needs okay on this eventually, but to have the township forces complete that path on Wells Road, to put that bridge in like they have in other areas. And that's something I think we can move ahead on this spring, this summer, and hopefully have that done for the opening of the path, of the Parkway path. And then we'd like to, and we discussed this at our open space meeting last night, to use up to $200,000 of the open space money for construction. And this is something we had to go in front of the county board to get their initial approval, and they gave that to us very willingly last week.
Yeah.
And I think this is significant, because I think we've all heard people want to be able to see and touch this open space. And this open space that we're talking about there is something you're going to be able to really appreciate when you get in there. And I think it'll be a big step forward in our open space program. It'll be a new element to it, but I think it's going to get people's attention. We know what we're asking for right now is just the okay to proceed to prepare those plans and get that back in front of you.
I'd like to entertain a motion to give the Bike and Hike Committee and the Open Space Board the go-ahead to address the items and pursue the items listed on slide 11 of their presentation. Is that fair?
Yeah, thanks.
Is that a fair is there
And the only one we didn't mention was Phase 3. We'd like to set up a special task force with that.
Okay.
That'll involve other municipalities. I think that's sort of something we're already doing in a sense through the Bike and Hike Committee.
Okay, including Phase 3. Is there a motion to that effect?
What is the motion?
Giving the Bike and Hike approval to go ahead and pursue their plans for expanding Phase 2 and Phase 3 of the Bike and Hike trails, as articulated on slide 11. Can you see it?
But what we're asking for is we want to negotiate these agreements. Those will have to come back in front of the board.
Mm-hmm.
We want to begin the design. We need to have authorization. Baker's on board already, but we have to authorize these specific tasks. So we're asking you to authorize the task of them moving ahead with the design. And then Dick wants to move ahead with the construction of the Wells Road Bridge. And then we want you to approve the idea of using up to $200,000 in the open space money, knowing we have to come back to you with very specifics on that. We're not planning on just going out and spending $200,000.
That's all I was clarifying.
We just want concurrence that we can go ahead and get to that point where we bring back something specific to you.
Well, I'll make a motion that we approve this to give you the ability to move forward without actually building the coming back to us later for final approval.
There's a second?
I'll second that.
Any questions? By the way, this was up to the idea of using open space money for some of these trails was something that was considered at the meeting the other night, and that was very exciting that opportunity is available, and thanks for the county to giving us that approval. Any other comments? All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Thank you.
Lynn?
I just was, go ahead.
She's getting out of it.
I was so great that I let her go.
I think the only thing we can add is some of the things that have been accomplished this year, and we can't take credit for the retreat.
I think you should recap, just for the new members, what you guys have done over the last 18 years.
Oh, come on.
No, 18 miles of
Why don't
bike
you, how
and
many
hike
miles,
over.
et cetera? That would be exciting.
It's on a map you can look at.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, we've been accomplishing a mile a year overall, and this is pushing us quite a bit forward. But a lot of it happens without a lot of our involvement, even. I mean, I think Dick's done a great job of putting in these paths, and we've got this momentum going on this thing that it's surprising how many grants that are coming in. And I think our meeting with DVRPC really showed that they're 100% behind this project. 2 of the 3 people we were meeting with
Grew up here. Oh, that's awesome.
And are looking forward for us, pushing us to complete this. But we completed the Destination Peace Valley, and that was all approved. That was all in last calendar year with other municipalities. Another joint municipal project that we expect to get additional funding on. And we've been working on the Parkway dedication, too, as I think a lot of people have, coming up this September, we think.
And also that we're trying to work more on the educational area for bike and hike, that we're trying to do. We've done a bike derby, and we made it so that it's something that can be passed along to teachers in the elementary schools or any, Girl Scout groups or anything.
We've got some great volunteers on that.
Yeah, and made it very simple, and it's at the township, so people, it's accessible for them to take and use for their organization. And I guess our big goal this year would be to get to Peace Valley. So, it's not easy to get there anymore. So we applied for and received a grant. And so we've made a big push to get ourselves moving on in that direction.
I don't think we've received that one.
I'm sorry.
The second phase.
No.
We got 35,000 to do the study.
No, we got that, and we finished that. Now we have to apply for a new grant for the first phase of construction.
That's what I meant, sorry.
That's okay.
That's how we get things done. We just...
It's mostly the initials that I'm always having trouble with.
CVRCP.
Everything has an initial, but everything doesn't have anymore. It's always initials. But, and I just would like to thank the board to say thank you very much. I've been on the committee for a long time, and I appreciate the opportunity to be on there and to work with people like Tom and Stephanie and yourselves. And we try not to use money from residents. We try to, we try to go for grants and try to make it as easy as possible, as easy on everyone as we can. So thank you very much. Thanks for the opportunity. Thanks, Tom. And thanks, Stephanie.
Thank you. Thank you for your work. I mean, you made a regional approach out of walking, so that's just amazing. Dick, do you have something?
I do. We use the bike paths. I'd like to say that they are great, and I'm looking forward to joining them in some of the other areas. We enjoy things like the Perkiomen Trail and some of the others. But Doylestown's bike trails are great fun to ride. They really are.
I mean, I'm excited about it, too, because we're talking about a cross-county trail that's coming right through Doylestown that'll connect the Perkiomen Trail
and
to the Delaware River.
And if the chief will not tell anybody, I've been riding on the new road along the park, and they're fine.
I hope to be like the great doctor and be able to be here at 91 and be going like, I want to thank you all. I'm glad you can see my trails.
Well, thank you.
All right, there's a motion and a second and some discussion. I'm going to call the question. All in favor? Aye. Thank you. Now, I know I speak for the rest of the board when I say this good and valuable work from the residents of this community has contributed to major township projects, to the acquisition of open space, to environmental stewardship, to fiscal responsibility, to efficient administration, and to recreation opportunities and the smooth administration of justice, communicating all the good work and all the programs and all the activities of the township to the other residents. This is vital. You're important. We thank you. It's so wonderful to see residents actually contributing, and you do, and we can't do what we do without it. You are the meat and potatoes of this township, and we so thank you for your work. So thank you for your work.
And
any other business? The next meeting of this Board of Supervisors is Tuesday, February 21st, 7 p.m. Temple Judea Road widening will be on the agenda. We're going to be closed February 20th for President's Day, and February 15th, the last day to drop off your Christmas tree behind the township building. Any other business? None. We are adjourned. Thank you very much.